All right, we are live. Good morning, YouTube. Welcome back. Unfiltered somewhat. We'll see. Hope everybody's ready for their hump day. Halfway through the week, that is. We're going to start off with the weather. Give me a second here. Mill about smartly. While I wait for people to come in the chat room. We're a little bit early. We're early, and look, we got Kevin Stoll out there already. Good morning. How's it going? Are you stuck in this weather mess out there, Kevin? We'll start off with that. If you're not in it, be thankful. We've just got a mess running down. I don't know. It's kind of like a forward slash, isn't it? Is that a forward slash? Running from Dallas up to, well, we'll go into Canada, Montreal. Yeah, a little rainy. Irish USMC is with us. A little rainy there, I'll bet, the way this map looks. And it's coming for you, Walter, and it's probably going to be snow. You can go dig New Jersey out again. So that's what you got to look forward to if you haven't made it out the door yet. If you're west or east, looks like you're going to be okay. Even the Pacific Northwest is slightly clear, it looks like. And on the back end, it looks like it's going to be a little colder. You got some back end snow and ice, so be ready for that. Yeah, all that warm moisture, though, is coming your way, Walter. It's going to probably turn to snow on the back end. Just be prepared. So did we see a name for this storm? Kevin, you got 8 inches of rain yesterday in one day? Holy cow. That's like Nevada's water allocation for a year. I think Vegas actually gets less rain than that. That's just up north. 8 inches of rain in one day. Holy cow. Yeah, widespread flooding concern. Are you down middle south there, Kevin? I don't think I've pinpointed your location. Well, you know, within a grid square at least. Don't have to be a 10-digit grid or nothing. Is that appropriate, Walter? Come on now. It's not like you can't blame the current storm for the actions of the past storms. They're all not working together. Oh, so you and an Irish USMC vet are there nearby each other then. Right on. I swear the Midwest and Canada are taking over YouTube, seems like, with all the new channels I'm following. They're calling it Winter Storm Oliver. I knew they had a name for it. So you can blame it on Oliver, Walter, all right? Thanks for coming out, fellas. But yeah, you're definitely getting rain, all of you, it looks like. Barry Wood's with us. Good morning. You're dry. Or at least the map says you're dry. If you're close to the mountains there in Cascades, it could always rain, snow. Truth Freeze is with us. Good morning. Bipolar weather. I could use a little more of I could use a little more of one side of the polar because we've gotten a lot of warm weather. We finally got cold this last week. We'll see how long it lasts. Hopefully it hangs in there. You shut up. Yeah, that's what we had Truth Freeze. We were up in the mid 60s a couple weeks ago. We finally got down to into the teens this week. We had our coldest day yesterday. It was about 8, 9, depending on what time you took your temperature. So currently, if you didn't know, you are wet there, those places, and more is coming. There you are, Barry. Pretty much clear as a bell. Right? I don't have many notes to go off today, folks, so put in your story links or ideas that you might have had or seen in the last 24, and we'll run some stuff down. But I do want to run over for a couple things that I've pulled out of the chaos. If Drudge has updated anything. But the death of Billy Graham is fairly significant for a lot of people, growing up where I did in particular. Fairly influential figure. I would say he's a slight bit better than Joel Osteen, that's for sure. But he's dead at 99 today. So any of those in the evangelical world know who he is. And his son Franklin has been running the show for quite a while in their ministry and whatnot. But long life, well served in many respects. The 17-year-old gun ban protest seems to be going quite swimmingly. They were all over Tallahassee yesterday, protesting their legislature who didn't pass a gun ban bill because they weren't going to be talked down to by a bunch of teenagers, I would imagine. For one, can't let the teenagers get ahead of you. But that was interesting. I think I saw a short link to that in here somewhere. But the stories of the kids that are doing some of these TV interviews have been kind of disturbing about, are these crisis actors hired CNN trolls? Why are all these kids showing up in different places? Of course, it's not really, you can only find it on the back channels. You're not going to find it in any mainstream channel, that's for sure, because they're being called out. Well, we got in the side chat here. We got a bunch of things just popped up. Somebody shot yourself in a school. Yeah, where was that? I remember seeing a brief headline, but it kind of came and went on that story. That kid who shot himself in school the day after. Or was it yesterday even? I don't remember. But supposedly they had stepped up security and kid comes in and commits suicide. Is that some sarcasm, Barry? Barry says, after the fact is the way of the system. Next time we'll do better. I think that's we'll do. We talking about gun control? Oh, wow, Kevin. Your dad went to college with Billy Graham? That's pretty impressive. Way back in the day. Your dad's 93 tomorrow. Congratulations to him. Happy birthday. Fairly impressive. Irish GMC vet has a jobs initiative he's proposing. Truant officers need to be out in force. The problem you have with that, Irish, is you're going to run across my kids and you're going to have problems. You try to take my kids into school. Not everybody attends the government school. That's a problem. Oh, I see, Barry. Just slight sarcasm, because once they do things better, the next time it's with your money, of course. With more money. They couldn't do good enough with the money you gave them, which they've been. Now they're begging for more money to do even more things that you're going to screw up. Got it. Okay. Just slight sarcasm. Oh, but here's going to be a good story we'll come back to in a second once we run around here a little bit. I didn't see a Tallahassee protest, Florida kids protest link. Dang it. Anyway, I know we've all seen a lot of that. Is there a video with the earpiece truth freeze? Comparative videos, and Mr. Hogg there, I didn't see one with him having an earpiece though. QC Hemp's in the house with us. Good morning, QC. What's up, Jim? Good to see you. You're out there in the Midwest as well with all these good, fine folks. You're slightly west though in Iowa, so you're probably drying out now after getting hit. We were just looking at the weather a short bit ago. And Jay Thornton is with us. Good morning, sir. You're on the south end of all that rain, I believe, that we were just looking at. Kind of discussing the Florida fallout from the protest for gun control and whatnot by staged actors, it looks like in a lot of cases. Yeah, we were kind of looking at all that rain that's coming down to a lot of y'all. You and yours. Truth Freeze is making movie titles. Soylent Green and the Children of the GMO Corn. Oh, that's funny. It's far too accurate, though, unfortunately. Saw a story in Zero Hedge. We'll get into the economic side a little bit. And I think we've all seen this prediction half a dozen times since we've been on YouTube over the years. Peter Schiff's always been a naysayer of the market pretty much. Promotes gold and silver a lot and shorting the market and, not being in the market heavily invested and just doing what you can to make money. That's about it. Good morning, Jay Grady. You got rain coming your way. Be ready. Storm's coming. Thanks for dropping in. But I did want to say the problem with promoting this now and why it's different than 1987. If I haven't said it again, there's so much more money dumped into the stock market now. There's so much more leverage that companies, banks can use to not have the market crash that it almost makes it an impossibility without everybody just stopping their 401k withdrawals. Allotments, stopping all your direct deposit. And I'm not talking to us. I'm talking to 150 million people out there are dumping $100 a month into their 401k or their mutual fund or their IRA, and that all goes into the market. There's so much leverage and direct funnel of money that's going into the market now that used to wasn't doing that it's almost an impossibility for the market to crash without a severe event of some sort. Everything else, all these drops and ups and downs are all manipulated events, and the banks profit on the side. The manipulators. My thoughts, my 2 cents for the day. But he was speaking how the economy's not all revved up, which I agree with a lot of his presumptions. I just don't think a crash is in the works just because of how much leverage and forced buying there is in the market. People pull their cash out, not people. Fund managers basically will pull the money out. They get all this money in from all these different places for mutual funds and whatnot, and they'll put it back in after the market comes down X number of percent. So, but it's a good article. He talks about, what's propping the economy up, cheap money, deficits, all the stuff that's bad. Really, China, other foreign countries, people that hold our debt are the big players who can precipitate a crash like that. Just something to think about. Oh, here's a protest. It's over on Zero Hedge, the only place you can find anything about the protest. I thought I saw one earlier. They're still laughing it up about Soylent Green, it looks like, in the side chat. Walter Davis. Soylent Green is soy boys. Oh, that's scary. As if our parents' generation didn't learn enough from Soylent Green, it's being rehashed in our generation. So there's the protest at Tallahassee, out in front of the state capitol in Florida there. George Clooney and Oprah Winfrey are making financial pledges to support the movement, not supporting the families of those that were victims. George Clooney and Oprah Winfrey make financial pledges to support the movement. Bunch of selfish, self-centered folks right there. Could call them a lot worse, but not live on air. Maybe in private sometime we'll have some. We'll discuss them more intimately. So the legislature actually took up 2 bills during the current session to provide broader access to guns. That's sticking it to them. But the next president of the Senate in Florida has called for a bill to raise the age limit for purchasing assault rifles from 18 to 21, the same as it is for handguns. There's always an agenda. It's all about cutting away at the core. People just need to go and say no, no more. They keep raising this perceived age limit of kids. Like, well, you're on your parents' health insurance till you're 25. You're not really an adult till you're 26. You know, if you stay in your mom's basement till you're 33, it's okay. It's insanity. It's destroying society. It's just total destruction of society. Destroys families, makes sure families never exist because guys are living with their moms till they're 30, et cetera, et cetera. Useful idiots under the age of 18. Should be a crime to manipulate kids like that. Probably is in some ways. We need to stop relying on Congress to save them. There's Reuters does a poll, or the Washington News poll shows 77% of Americans believe the Republican-dominated U.S. Congress is doing too little to prevent mass shootings. It's not Congress's job. 62% say President Trump hasn't done enough on that front. It's not the president's job. Go back, see my video I did on America We Need to Talk. I can't talk about this for 5 minutes. Let's go back in the side chat. I think QC Hump has a solution here. Have you seen vacuum trucks for prairie dogs, larger trucks for protesters? QC, you're going to have to do a video on that, I think, since you haven't done one this year that I remember. And you're going to have to show us a demonstration of that. No, I don't know what you're talking about. They go around to the prairie dog holes out there and they like suck them up. I've never heard of such a thing. Walter Davis, good point, Walter. Walter says it's better to have nutters with ARs than tactical shotguns. Yes, somebody with a tactical shotgun knows what they're doing. Of course, if any guys know what they're doing with a knife, machete, baton, tobacco stick, no matter what the tool is, if they know what they're doing with it. There's no doubt about that. You don't have to know what you're doing with an 18-wheeler and you just run through people. You can take out a lot more people. I think it was SAP, that Saints and Sappers, I guess we're talking about, take their iPhones away for 8 hours and they were off, forget all about guns. True story, Kevin. They won't be able to be indoctrinated via the internet either, more than likely. Good point. So we're about halfway through this morning chat, folks. Make sure you're checking out the cards up there in your top right corner. You don't have to do it now, but go up there on that little eye icon, check it out. We got some channels for you to go check out of, well, I guess they're all important. I'm not going to say they're not important, but they're different areas of interest for you. Something you might be interested in, some channels you may not have heard of, depending on how you got to my channel, depends on what you might be interested in. I've been finding a lot of new, I shouldn't say new prepper channels, but I fell out of the prepper network back after Bundy Ranch, kind of, and I'm starting to get back into commingling with some of those folks, good people. Hey, Katrina J., good morning. Trying to outlaw hetero men. Well, that's a whole nother problem. But it goes along with the gun agenda and the family agenda and everything else. There's no doubt about that. Walter brings up, is that Walter? Yeah, Walter brings up the killing of kids in a Chinese school, 126 killed with one guy and a meat cleaver. Lots of evil can be done very quickly by somebody dedicated. No doubt. All right. I'll bounce back over to some news here. We hadn't even hit the CNBC yet. California drought, and this is real important when it comes to rights. And those of you not in the West, which most of you aren't, why my Western folks aren't up this early, I don't know. Tactical Tony's, I think, is already at work, though, so I can't blame him. I think he's a 0630 at work type of guy. Not everybody's got a banker hour job like I do, I guess you'd say. Irish USMC vet, did you see my tweet? I tagged you in this morning, HDP. Okay, Irish, I saw you hit like 5 of my tweets at one time, and I kind of disregarded. I apologize. But I didn't have time to look at every single thing. It says you like to tweet, Oh, you linked me to your tweet. Right, about how you're going to, destroy cars and trucks to save people. Instead, so Irish USMC's vet tweet from this morning was, we should do the same with cars and trucks and vehicles alike. My aunt was murdered by a vehicle in 1958 and I never got to meet her because of an automobile. Hashtag walking is safer. Hashtag cut them up. I linked a tweet on that guy the guy from New York destroying his AR with that chop saw, committing a felony instantly by creating an SBR, but also proving no point and basically being a manipulative moron. High Impact Flicks did a really good video on the manipulation of that whole video about contradicting his own words and stuff. If you want to go check that out. I can't say the guy's last name, Papa Labardo or something like that. But yeah, Irish, you stay out there on Twitter. You're better. Twitter's better when you're around. This is not the link that should be up. Did I just hit something forward? Okay, California drought. Keyword: California drought cuts could erase water rights. You can't erase rights. There may not be water there to draw from, but you can't remove the right to it. This gets to the heart of many of the ranching situations out here, BLM, water rights, land usage rights, etc. And this is just going to be one of those agendas and way they try to get around that. They've went after many farmers in California and not permitted them the use of water because of environmental protection for this river slug or whatever it is out there in the Sacramento River Valley and the valley down there. But it's a proposal to make California's drought era water restrictions permanent that could allow the state to chip away at long-held water rights in an unprecedented power grab, which is what it is, a power grab. Representatives from water districts and others told regulators Tuesday. And all it is making it unsustainable growth. Instead of having the price of water match where it deserves to be, they're giving people in these suburbs, in these cities, cheap water and making people that put the water to use suffer. And people that have long had standing rights to the water. They're the problem. They're the ones, because they're individuals standing alone, they're easy targets. Because you got 20 million people in the LA basin who don't care, who just want instant water to their tap. But instead of doing any type of movement there, no, let's go after the guy who's had water rights. Will always have water rights because they're his rights. There you go, QC Hump. Is that the link? Yeah, anti-gunner commits felony on video while promoting gun control. If that's that High Impact Flicks video, it's pretty good. He breaks it down about the guy's manipulative statements and how he's really not destroyed his VR and he could just take the upper receiver, replace it. But the mental derangement that is, if you think a tool that you control and you own is going to harm anybody when it hasn't done so in the 30 years you've owned it, you have a mental disorder because you don't think you can control your own actions. And you're probably mentally unstable, so maybe we should intern you as such. Back on topic of this water restrictions. Just let me go back to this quote. Several irrigation officials and water agencies said restrictions are reasonable, but the state constitution prohibits waste or unreasonable use of water. That would create a slippery slope of allowing the board of California's historic preservation protection of water rights for landowners. We all know where the waste happens if they want to go after waste. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, how Malibu County people were using like 250 gallons a day, not per dwelling, but per person. Just insane amounts of water. We talked about that last week in that story that came out of California, talking about water in the drought and water restrictions they were trying to impose. Currently, the restrictions are punishable by a $500 fine and include prohibitions on watering lawns so much that the water flows into the street, using a hose to wash down sidewalks, or using a hose without an automatic shutoff nozzle to wash cars. Final decision on this is expected by April 17th. Hotels, washing garments, washing hotel towels, all that stuff we've heard. Another measure would give cities and counties until 2025 to stop watering ordinary street medians. You live in a Mediterranean environment down there in Southern California, kind of got to live with what you get, but they're already so overgrown. They've been stealing water for so long from Northern California, Nevada, Lake Mead, Utah. Exist otherwise. It's going to be bad if the weather ever gets shut off down there. And we've had a dry winter. They mentioned that up here in the Sierra. Most of California's reservoirs are slightly above their historical average, but that's just because of the big year from last year. That's how much water we got last year. It's all left over. But it can quickly go down if we don't get some better winters than this. Okay, we got about 5 minutes left, people. Any additional comments? Let me go down here. Oh, we got Rooster Cogburn joining us. Good morning, sir. We're all talking about the shooter in Florida still. You guys are back at it. Time to make Kevin, you're way behind if you're just now making coffee. I hate to tell you. It's sad. Yeah, I hope you got your preps up, Kevin, for that coffee, because crisis headaches are going to hurt. I got some stored away. If you need some, let me know. I found that instant is the best way to go for having my preps built up, because ground coffee is just too hard to store. I can buy instant and I'm good. Truth Freeze brings up Nestle and the siphon from the Great Lakes. We did that story a couple of weeks ago too, Truth, about Nestle and that dispute with a Michigan town, how basically Nestle was drawing water out at 4 cents a gallon, and obviously they sell it for $5 a gallon. I mean, how much do they sell it for? Desalination would be way cost effective. Agreed. We had that story on Cape Town, South Africa, going into a water crisis last month. We'd have to relook at that and see where that's at, but that's definitely an issue. And desalination is a good way, especially for when you've got, what is it, 75% roughly of the world's population lives within 100 miles of a coastline. Rooster, are you in California? I can't remember, but Rooster says LA's water comes straight from the Delta. I'm assuming you mean Sacramento River Delta. That water is nasty. Or is there a LA River Delta down there? The LA River and everything is pretty much dry, isn't it? And QC Hump with the tip of the day: save water, drink beer, which is be a meal in and of itself. We didn't check in on the markets this morning. They were down, way down yesterday. Is this from the start this morning? I'm going to refresh this. Yeah, Modesto. Okay, right on, Rooster. You and Seller 559 share similar territory. I don't think he's a fan of Modesto, though. I think he's a Fresno guy. Markets bounced up from being down yesterday. Oh, wait, there's a story. Fed minutes are coming up this week, I believe. Today, actually, I think the Fed and the new chairman gets to speak, so that's going to get everybody in a tizzy. We kind of talked about that already. Thought Nestle was a Swiss company. Yeah, I'm with Truth. I thought Nestle was Swiss. Are they a French company? Oil staying below 65 is good. Flat bonds are a little bit down, but they're still hanging close to 2.9. Listen to some of the financial people that are looking for bonds to go to 3 here shortly this year. That's the big tell when you talk about inflation and such things. All right, folks, any last stories before we jet out of here? Thanks for joining us. Good crowd. Good comments out in the side chat as usual. Again, check out those cards up on your right corner of your Hangout screen there and the little eye icon. Some other channels to go check out if you haven't done so already, if you may not have heard of them. What happens if you don't pay taxes on Bitcoin? It's like a tree falling into the woods. Does anybody really hear it? But they're coming after it, definitely. Oh, exchange price on coins is zero. Lots of Bitcoin cryptocurrency news on the front page here. How many hours it takes to pay rent in 11 U.S. cities. Don't live in a city. Best advice we can give there. Don't rent unless you absolutely need to. The bump stock story, Trump's advice to his attorney general. We'll see where that goes. Lots of disgruntlement from people who kind of were trying to be on Trump's side, but just this is going to push him over the edge, I think, with Trump just making executive orders and directing things as a tyrant like this. It's going to get interesting. But I had a comment on the G Plus that Trump is just trolling the left. But this is because this is pretty much a inconsequential order. It doesn't really mean anything in some respects because it doesn't really affect that many people, and it doesn't. It's not an actual gun piece, I guess you'd say. It doesn't come standard, doesn't come issued. It's kind of this novelty. It's kind of the principle for most of us, but she had a different angle on it. That this ban was kind of just a way to thumb the nose in the left and be like, look, I did something. What do you want me to do? He's doing what he can do, I guess, and just to say it's a political angle more than anything. It's definitely politics. It's not principle, but it was an interesting take she had on it. I'm not a fan of any giving in of any regulation, but her take on it was interesting, that he can use this against him later if this goes through. But I want to go out and buy a bump stock just because now. Too. It makes me want to go out and buy one. And I'm not sure what this story is about, a 10,000-year clock being built in Texas, but I'll have to look that up. Maybe I'll put that on the G+. So yeah, if you're not on Twitter, come out and join me in Irish USMC Vet Twitter. He's picked up his pace a little bit. Or on the G+, we link articles and stories all day. We can talk about it. And also, side note, on the internet, I've been having challenges, and I talked to a cable guy, a friend of mine, who is a cable guy. He does internet service and cable service back home, and I got on him with the phone last night when I was trying to figure out, because I looked at all my boxes, looked at all my wiring, trying to figure out what's going on, because it's bouncing up and down. I'm going from good and clear to the next minute just off the net, basically 2x2. You can't, or 1x1. You can't even hardly. It gets all garbled. You guys have seen the results. And after going everything, I'm getting pretty much the speed I'm supposed to get from my service line, because we are rural. We don't have DSL, but it didn't make sense why it's going so spotty. And then I was backtracking on the effects, and what he was saying is it's probably Google's server, where they host Hangouts and such. And I was trying to rationalize that, and I was thinking, well, you know what's going on is this whole Google debacle with everybody trying to get their hours. I think everybody's going live for extended periods to get their hours of view time, to get in that whole monetization program that they put out the order on for yesterday. And it seems to be considerably better today. I think everybody was pushing to get those hours, and everything seems a lot better today. All of a sudden, I don't have any spottiness or I didn't fluctuate too much in my bandwidth. Seemed to be a much better broadcast from my end. We'll see what the replay shows. You guys seem to be good. But I think that might have been our problem for the last month. And I didn't start this, I think, until like the day they announced that. So it kind of coincided with what I was doing, ironically. What it is their server for Hangouts was getting so overloaded with all these channels going live, especially on the East Coast, when you figure time difference, that it was just, that's what it was that made it so spotty. So hopefully we get better days like today based upon the data I'm seeing in the future and moving forward. But thanks for coming out. M Long joined us late. Hey, you're getting rain, M Long. You need to go shovel out the gutters or something. It'd probably be snow on the back end. Have a good day. Rewind M Long if you want to catch up. We're going to cut out of here. I'll go out, live free.